Hello, and welcome to another edition of Q&A with Hot Apple Stud. No, we are back today.
I don't know what it is.
That was that's an inside joke. I love inside jokes. Anyway, it's Tuesday, July 21st. It is a rainy day here in the suburbs of Chicago.
Oh, it's almost
And
here, dude. It's like perfect weather today for us.
really,
It's like 80 something. Like it's been like heat wave for like I swear to God for like a month. Like today is like the first day you go outside and like not be drenched in sweat. And
hmm
it's like
well, for some reason today, the 21st of July, just happens to be a rainy day because I went through Snapchat, like the thing where it tells you what happened on this day, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Every single one, it was raining. Every single year, it was raining. So that was pretty crazy. And one of those years, 2 years ago, actually, was my first and last Warp Tour. And that was such a fun time that I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to talk about like concerts and music festivals, and not just in. What was the first music festival you went to? Because I know you have crazy stories about camping out at the festivals and stuff. So, what was the very first music festival that you went to?
so you're gonna hear barking because this dog's acting wild right now. But on the first music festival, the first concert I ever been to was a music festival, and that was like when I was 20. I feel like I was late to the game when it came to music festivals and concerts, and it was called Edge Fest. So we have a radio station called 102.1 The Edge, and
Hmm.
every year they would have a festival called Edge Fest, headlined by some band or something. And at the
By
time,
Edge.
one of my favorite. Actually, Edge got his name from the Edge because he lived
Really?
in. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So
How
yeah.
about that?
So yeah, the Edge radio station is the
Huh.
reason Edge is called Edge.
That's
But
today I learned.
one I know. There you go. Today years old. I was today
Yeah,
years.
exactly.
I learned that Edge got his name from a radio station in Toronto. But they play pretty much rock and alternative music. So one of my favorite bands, Billy Talent, was opening. Their Canadian band, and pretty much everyone at that festival, I knew a couple of their songs, and I've seen them multiple times throughout my festival going, concert going career, I guess. So yeah,
Dang. Who else
that
was
was my
on there?
first ever one. I went in at 12 o'clock, not expecting what I was going to see, and I left at I think midnight or 11 p.m. and I was like, damn, that was wild.
Who else was on that show that you saw?
A band called USS, a band called the Sheepdogs, a band called um, what are they called? I can't think of their name right now. Death from Above. That was my first ever like heavy metal rock going into like a mosh, being all crazy, and it was like wild. Like we went to go see this band, and all of a sudden it was like we were in the pit, and I'm like, and everyone's like crowd surfing and going wild. I'm like, what did we get ourselves into? Pretty much. Like
What do you think? What do you think about the pit and moshing? You ever like after that point? Did you ever like open up to it?
I'm like, okay, like I'll jump in if my friends go in, but
Hmm.
I'm like on the outskirts, dude. Like if like I'm in the ends, like yeah, you'll get bounce off me, it's fine, but like I'm not in there bouncing around people. It's whatever.
Because the first show that I ever went to is a fun story that I always like to tell. So two of my friends in high school, it was the last like 3 weeks. No, it was like the last week, the last full week even of high school. So senior year, it was May 15th to be
Oh,
exact. And so my friends had this extra ticket to go see this band that I never heard of before
hold on.
called
How old are you? How old are you then?
well, it was senior year. That was 2015. So 5 years ago, I'm trying to do the math. Maybe 18,
Oh,
I think.
nice. See, yeah, 2 years
So
on me concerts.
yeah. So they were looking for another person to go with them to this thing. So to this concert. I didn't know any of these bands. I've heard of them because they talked about them. So it was this band, All Time Low. They had like a tour because their CD just came out, and so I tweeted. I was like, "Oh, is anyone looking for a ticket to go to this show?" And I was like, whatever. And I was in study hall. I think it was like second period study hall, and so in third period, um, I was like, I had when the gears turned in my head it's bad because then I'm like, thinking about things. So I texted them and I'm like, what would you think if I went with? Like, And they were like, hey, like, why don't you come with? And I was like, that's not a bad idea. So what I had to do was I had to, I was texting back and forth with them. And then I think I texted my dad and I was like, hey, would you be able to call me out? And he's like, what? So like I asked to go to the bathroom. I went in the bathroom. I called my dad and I said, hey, they got an extra ticket. I'm going to leave now. I'm going to drive home. I'm going to change real quick. And then I'm going to go to Chicago for the day. And then we're going to go see this band that I never heard of before. And so he like called me out at the end of the period. And I had to like get all my stuff and like pretty much drive home. And then I didn't know what to expect. Now going into it, I was like, oh, like I was at WrestleMania. I know how, being at an event and stuff like, you know what I mean? Like that was the mentality. And like I wore my NWO shirt going to this show because I was like, well, oh, like they were like, oh, like everyone's like a wrestling fan, like all those crowds are wrestling fans. So we went like throughout Chicago, and I was so tired just like throughout the day. And because like I'm not good when I'm in cars, so I had to like take the medicine to like make sure I didn't get car sick. So I was so tired,
You and
and
Ravi
then
are the same.
really, um,
Well,
so
yeah, Ravi always gets car sick.
oh,
That's a
true,
gimmick.
true, yeah, I didn't think about that. That's why he sits in the back. That's probably a bad thing. So anyway, um, so we get in there, and there's this one band that opened for him, um, and like so basically, so the bands just for anyone who's listening, the first band was State Champs. Um, the second was the second band. So I think the second band was Issues, and the third band was Tonight Alive. Those three bands are huge now. Not as huge as All Time Low is now, but it's like probably at that time they were the same. So for the Issues, they brought out these like amps that had all these like old looking Game Boy things on there, and it was all Pokemon. They came out to the Pokemon theme, Justin, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And as soon as the
Your
first
Pokemon
drum
Go
hit,
days
what?
was a prelude to Pokemon Go. That's happened next year, the
That's
year after.
true. That's true. But as soon as the first like stick hit the drum, um, all of a sudden, like I am like dying. Like there's like the mosh pit like was going nuts. Everyone was like going crazy. I was not expecting that. The way that I used to describe it was, do you remember that Derrick Rose gif where actually after he like shoots that shot and then like he like his whole team like crowds him and he's just like
Yeah, yeah,
straight face like that's what I used to describe it. Um, so that was like crazy. And then like 2 weeks after that, I went to see them again in Milwaukee. And those 2 weeks between the two shows, I made sure to know every single word to every single song on their set list. And let me tell you, like I did it. It was great. And then we drove back, and like the next day was graduation from high school. So that was like, if it wasn't for those. Oh, and then on the Milwaukee show, there was two different opening bands because that Milwaukee show was supposed to
so
be
wait,
the
you went to
night.
one show, and you went to a show like a couple months after, a month after, or a
No,
couple
no,
weeks
no.
after.
So May 15th was the Chicago show. They were supposed to be in Milwaukee the next day, but they had to cancel that show for whatever reason. So they came back in two weeks after in Milwaukee and did a makeup show, and it was a lot longer. They had two different new opening bands, and those two bands, I've seen those bands at least like 5 times at this point. So if it wasn't for those two shows, I wouldn't be as big of a music fan as I am today. Like those really changed everything for me in general. So
I think me going to concerts really like how fun it is.
hmm
It pretty much started like a streak of going to festivals essentially because festivals like a bang for your buck, dude. You pay like $150 to $200, or for Lollapalooza, what do we pay, three?
something like
And
that.
you're getting like if you add up all the acts you see, and like if you went to the concerts each, you're getting like it's like a value pack.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
It's crazy.
especially especially if they're like, big. They're always big names on Lollapalooza, or they're going to be big names.
Because
So that's
I remember
also
telling you about Riot Fest because I went to
oh,
Riot Fest in 2014, and this is like when they had All Star lineup here. They had like Rise Against, like names
hmm
City and Color. I think
hmm
AWOL Nation. AWOL Nation. Everyone knows that one song if I play it.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Billy Talent again. That was like a main act I want to see, and I made sure like I sang my heart out to every song because I was like, oh, I remember I went to that show and an ROH show was happening that same day, and Ravi got mad at me because I picked a festival over a ROH show,
oh
where actually the
man,
title change and where I think Jay Briscoe beat Elgin for the title.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Can I
Um,
let me defend you on that for a second? Um, here's what I think. What year was that?
2014.
2014. Okay. So at that point, you're probably like, like you're probably transitioning from like wrestling is my life to there's other things in life. And
No, it
I,
was more like I think after WrestleMania 30, and I was transitioning to New Japan, I was kind of, you know, all New Japan up.
because WrestleMania 33, was that the one in Orlando?
Yeah,
WrestleMania 33 was in Orlando. And like the only people that I really know that went were like Luke and Zach. And
Renzo's.
I know Lorenzo's, I know BTB. Um,
But you didn't
I,
really know.
I know there's other people. Anyway, um, so the same night of NXT, We the Kings were playing the show in Orlando, and We the Kings is from Florida. They have a hometown show in Bradenton, Florida, which is their hometown every single Christmas. They had a show in Orlando during WrestleMania weekend. So I was saying, I was like, I wish I would have went to this year's WrestleMania so I can skip NXT and go see We the Kings in Orlando, Florida,
I
because that
remember
would have
that
been
NXT
awesome.
wasn't that great of a show. It was okay.
Dude, I'll be honest. If I was at that Mania, and if every single match on NXT was the greatest match of all time, and it one up each other each time, and I was at We the Kings, I would not care one bit. That would be awesome. I just love seeing the same band in different places, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I saw this one band that they opened for All Time Low the second time in Milwaukee. It's called Real Friends. Since that time, actually like last year, a couple of months ago, their lead singer said he's going to leave the group. So that's fun. They're from Tinley Park, which is where Warp Tour is in Illinois, or was, I guess. So I got to see them at Warp Tour. I got to see them in Milwaukee. I got to see them in Kansas a bunch of times. Um, so it's just like I don't know. It's just like going to wrestling shows or going to Survivor Series or WrestleMania, and then WrestleMania's in a different place or whatever. It's just like a fun thing to do. So anyway, I forgot what you were talking about, and I cut you off there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Riot Fest, dude. Oh, A1. I saw a bunch of bands. Like I remember telling, I still tell people about how much people I saw there, and they're like, "You saw all those people?" I'm like, "Yeah, I only paid $100 for 2 days." Like it's wild. And the Riot Fest came the next year, and like this was like the last one because like I don't think it was selling as good.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing like All Time Low. They were
Mm-hmm.
there, and I was like, "Oh, this is all right." Like this is like Mike's band. This is when you were hot on them. You were just watching
Yeah,
them. Saw them like what? That's I saw them in September, and you saw them in May.
yeah. I think you like sent me a picture or something.
I probably had, there's probably a tweet out there saying like, "Here you go."
Yeah.
Um, I saw Weezer. I saw a bunch
Oh,
of people. I can't
dude,
even remember how much people,
let
but
me
it
tell
was
you
like
about
also
Weezer.
$100 again.
It's such a good price. That's why, going back to the reason
Oh,
we
and
did
they
this
also they were specifically for that thing. They were playing 2 nights, 2 days. One day they were playing one album, the other day they were playing the other album. I can't remember what.
we saw Weezer. It was a joint show between Panic at the Disco and Weezer. So you had Panic at the Disco, which is like all these young kids that got their long like their straight black hair. They
Long hair.
got their like the emo crew, and then you have all these older adults, and it was just the craziest thing. And so Panic at the Disco went on first, and then Weezer ended. And during that thing, they had like a big screen behind them. There was like a bunch of drug emojis and like crazy rainbow like effects, and it was like I think I turned to Tommy and I was like, I've never done drugs before, like, but this must be what it feels like because that was crazy.
What
Um,
else?
what
So,
was I gonna say?
um,
So the reason you were talking about like how good it is like for the price. So I never went to Warped Tour because I heard that it was like Lollapalooza prices where it was so expensive. When I
man,
found out,
oh,
because
it definitely is not.
We the Kings did the even years. So they went in 2014, they went in 2016, 2018. I saw them in 2018. But when I found out that it was $40, $40, and I got to see every single band that I pretty much like latched on to my, utility belt from the past 3 years. Like We the Kings, Mayday Parade, State Champs. I saw a little bit of Knuckle Puck. I saw Bowling for Soup. I saw um, Real Friends, and then I ended it with Simple Plan. Like I saw the Main as
I,
well.
I was supposed to go to Warp 2 2018, then I had to sell my ticket. I can't remember why I couldn't go for some reason.
Really, and that was the
Yeah,
last one too.
that was the last one. I know it was the last one.
I got one of
Uh,
those gimmick tickets, like that has the when you move them, like the image moves. You know what I mean?
yeah, the holographic thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Pretty good
remember.
show.
So you go to what's it called? You finally go to concerts in 2015 and 2016. You go from like, see, I'm from 2012 to 2015. I slowly go to festivals, 1 day festival, 2 day festival.
Hmm.
In 2015, I went to a 3 day festival where you had to sleep. Like you get your own section, you get park your cars, you set up your tents, and like they
No
got
thing.
like shower gimmicks if you want to pay for that. We didn't pay for the shower gimmicks. We just used like wipes and like Friday you're good. Saturday you're kind of mucky, and by Sunday you're like you're gonna go home, so you could like just survive the one more day. But
Hmm.
like yeah, because and then that was fun. But by the Sunday you're just like done because like all the toilets are dirty now. They're like you just don't want to use the washrooms anymore. You're just like this is disgusting.
No, thank
Like
you.
I would never do that again. But like for the time, like if it was a 2 day and you sleep there 1 day, it'd be fine. But the third day you're just like you just feel gross.
I'm not a big camping person. Like,
What it definitely was worth the experience of like, oh, I went to a festival and I slept there.
see, I'd rather just come back the next day. Like, let me go take a
Yeah,
dump in my own
think about
bathroom.
that. It was like a 3 hour drive from where we live. Like, so imagine like
That's different.
it's 3 hours from Huntley, I
Hmm.
guess. You would be
That's
like, okay,
yeah.
so, yeah, that's why there's no driving back and forth. But it was fun. It definitely was fun. I saw Kendrick 1 day. Who did I see? I can't remember. I just remember Kendrick. Oh, what's his face? Um, Sam something. What's his
Sam
face?
Smith.
Sam Smith headlined the last day. Kendrick headlined the second day. I can't remember who headlined the first day.
What's this called?
It was called Way Home, 2014,
Way 2014,
2015.
2015. I'll let you know. We're gonna look at this lineup and see how many people I know. By the way, fantastic design on this. I just want to say that. You got Sam Smith, Kendrick Lamar, Alt J, Modest Mouse,
Oh, Modest Mouse. I remember seeing them
Hosier.
live. Like Modest Mouse has this one song where like if you picture how the music video in your head would be, it
Hmm.
was like that same scene of like people dancing like in like the field and stuff, and it was like a
Yeah.
trip. And I look behind me, I'm like, this song. I feel like I'm in the music video for the song right now.
Hmm. Let's see. I
Run the
know
Jewels,
St. Vincent,
great. Walk on the Moon. Everyone remembers that one
Dance
song from
Joy, Walk the Moon. They have a couple good songs. G Easy. I know
oh
him. Cold
Walk the
War
Moon.
Kids.
Walk the Moon when they played that like one song that was popular in 2015. I've
Shut
never
up.
seen
Man.
so much 16-year-old girls run to a stage in my
Oh,
life.
I believe it.
Because
Yeah.
it was like in a tent style stage, but it was huge. Like you feel like 20,000 people.
Mhm.
Like literally, I was standing at the back, and like people were running by me, just like going wild. I'm like, holy crap!
That's crazy, dude.
Run the Jewels is like fun. Oh, and I think it was July Talk was like this band that I saw for the first time, and I'm huge fans of them. I've seen them like twice.
There you go. See, that's
So it
always
was
the
funny.
best.
You go for the headliners, and you find a thing.
That's
Bass
always the
Nectar.
best.
Bass
Who?
Nectar is a DJ, and he played like a 12 o'clock set till like 2 in the morning. That was fun.
Hmm.
Hosier, everyone remember that song "Take Me to Church"? If you remember that song,
Oh
that
yeah.
was good too. Anyways, it was a good festival.
See,
It really.
the thing is like going into, well, it was big with Lollapalooza for me, like not knowing anybody and then coming out knowing a bunch of people. But like with Warped Tour, there was the main played after We the Kings, and I was just standing around waiting for like the next band to play, and like I was talking to like the We the Kings like merch guy because he saw my Young Bucks shirt. And before he even like took my order, he just threw up the two sweet, and I was like, "Oh man, I've never tipped a merch guy. That was the first time I tipped a merch guy. I made sure that that guy got, a couple bucks that day." Um, but like the main that we're playing, and I was like, I've heard of them before, but I don't really know their music, so I'm gonna watch this just so I can say that I saw it after the fact. And that was the same thing with Simple Plan. I've heard of Simple Plan, and I was like, I mean, I feel like they're like a really big deal. I think I need to watch them. So I was watching them, and one of the people from Bowling for Soup was walking his dog. So that was kind of crazy. And during I'm Just a Kid by Simple Plan, Travis from We the Kings, who's like the lead singer, and then the singer from Don Bracco, which is another good band, they like came out on stage and like sang that song with Simple Plan, and I was like, I mean, you can't get any better than that. So I was legitimately leaving as they were playing. Oh, what's it called? Perfect. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry, I can't be perfect. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that was like one of those things where like the sun was like setting, it was golden hour, and like you got the song playing in the background, and I'm just leaving, and it's like it was a fitting way to end the last Warped Tour in Chicago ever. So
Um, so that's Warped Tour. So like I was saying, I went from 1 day festival 2012,
mhm.
2 day festival 2014, 3 day festival 2015, and then Lollapalooza is a 4 day festival. So I'm like,
First
I've been
ever.
I've won it all. I've done it all. I've been climbing this mountain. 4 day festival. You have you ever been to a festival in Lollapalooza? No, right?
Before Lollapalooza?
Yeah.
No, I only went to
You
concerts.
yeah, you went to a couple concerts and you went straight for like the beast. So that
Lollapalooza
I guided you through essentially. And we like
Lollapalooza was, when like when people are on deck for baseball and they go on
yeah.
deck and they have three bats in their hands. Well, instead of three bats, I had four bats, and after I had those four bats, I was able to put them down and I was able to go up there to bat with one bat. That's what Lollapalooza was, because after that, I was inching my way to every concert that I went to. I would always like try to go as close as possible where I could still be, in my limits, you know what I mean? But I was still like, an arm length away from the stage. So that was always cool. And that kind of like,
It
got
helped
me
that we
used
had
to it.
that front row thing. It helped we went to Major Laser to get you in
Oh yeah.
that zone. So like that builds up. Like after Lollapalooza, you're pretty much that's it. Like nothing's gonna phase you now.
I think about that time before Major Laser's set came on, um, at Lollapalooza. I think about like the grouping and like just like everybody around us. I think about that at least like once a month. Like, you know what I mean?
Why?
Like
You just like
it's just no. I mean, like that was like a joke. It's
remember?
probably not once a month, but it's just like one of those things where it's like, especially now, like I'm reminiscing about all these concerts, and I miss them. And I was
That's
supposed
what
to
I'm
go
saying. Like
to
that's why I'm like, if you're worried, we'll just go back. But you're just like, oh, it's fine.
for what?
Major Laser. I was like, if it
Oh
gets
yeah,
bad, we always go back. It's fine. Let's just go
like
backwards.
I found my way next to the
It's easy to
barricade.
go backwards. It's hard to go forward.
I found my way next to the barricade, and um, once I did that, I was good. So here's the thing. So did you have any concerts planned this year?
Yeah,
Like, did you have tickets?
um, Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, dude,
It's supposed to
that
go
would
in
be.
July. Actually, it'd probably be around this time right now. Maybe this week or next week.
Was that like in a venue or outside?
Yeah. Scotiabank Theater, Canada Center.
Were you there when Tom Morello was on stage with ex ambassadors?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was at the back because I was waiting for you because I knew you were at the front with the VIP area.
Yeah. Because I know you left early to go to Marshmallow, so that's why I wasn't sure.
I left. I walked around. I watched the end because I wanted to see the last song, even though I
Mhm.
already saw it before. Oh yeah, July tomorrow was
Oh,
supposed to be when I was supposed to see them.
you gotta. That's your Instagram post for tomorrow because I know you're doing it every day. You gotta do like a Run the Jewels song or like a picture of the ticket or something. Not Run the Jewels, a freaking Rage Against the Machine.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm going crazy. I had two, I had two tickets that I purchased earlier this year. Um, the first one was on August 12th, which is a Saturday, and August 12th? No, August 8th. I'm sorry, August 8th. It was a Saturday, so it was a combined tour with AJR, which AJR they opened for the very first We the King show I went to. They were the opener, okay, the opener, and here they are running this gigantic amphitheater right next to Lake Michigan. You can see the skyline. I heard that's like a great venue to go see concerts at.
How
It
big?
was like this awesome outdoor thing. What?
18,000, 20,000.
You want me to check? Hold on. Oh shoot, I don't know what
But I
it's
know
called.
by us is only like 16,000.
Amphitheater by Lake Michigan, Chicago. So it was going to be awesome. And hold on, dude, why isn't it coming up with like the map? Give me the map. One time, give me the map, Google. Um, I gotta look this up because I don't know. Oh, the Huntington Bank Pavilion at Northernly Island. We're gonna look this up right now. It holds up to 30,000. Wow.
Oh damn.
And I had like an early pass to get in, so I can like run to the stage,
Mm-hmm.
as best as I could. So it was AJR, it was Quinn XCII, however you say the his name. He's really good. I started listening to him a couple months ago, and then there was so Hobo Johnson was on the tour, but he wasn't on the Chicago show, which just kind of bummed me out because I started listening to him too. But then the other one that was opening was I don't know if it's Ashy or Ash or I don't know how it is. It's ASHE, and I mean she's been putting out some good songs, and I think she's already on the up and up, so she's only going to get bigger than this. And it reminds me of the time that I was going to go see Logic, and Dua Lipa was going to open for Logic on this one show, and that show got canceled. And so then after that, Dua Lipa like blew up, like so that was
She has like now she's like blowing up even more. Now she has like I think 40 million followers. Last time I checked, 48
yeah.
million.
So this was going to be awesome, and then that got canceled, and then legitimately, I said legitimately a lot. So that was on the 8th of August. So 4 days later, I was going to go back to that same place for what they called Sad Summer Fest, and that's run by like the band called The Main, um, and that was pretty much like the Warp Tour adjacent. They made it after Warp Tour ended, and the headliner for that was All Time Low. And you had some other bands that are right up my alley. The Story So Far, Movement, The Main, and then Grayscale was the other one on that tour. And I saw Grayscale before, but and then everything happens and it gets canceled, and now they have the Sad Summerfest has replanned every single show, every single
I think
show.
everyone's replanned everything for next year, like the same
Everyone
date.
has they figured out the dates and the venues for next year, besides three. And you know what one of those three is? Chicago. So Chicago better get their act together because if I miss this next year, first off, I don't want to drive to Milwaukee. I need this. Okay. Between this and AJR, I need this. I needed it this year, and I'm not gonna get it. Here's the thing: AJR, I've seen him before. It would have it would have been cool to like see him in that like on a huge stage when a
Yeah,
couple of years before I saw them on the small stage. That would have been awesome. But honestly, like that got surpassed after they announced Sad Summer Fest was All Time Low because that was going to be my show. You know what I mean? Because because that ticket was like $40, the same as like Warped Tour. And you know how much I paid for the AJR show?
How much?
I think after tax, it's like 193.
Wow.
I know. That was like maybe it was 153 or
I was
one.
gonna say, I was thinking like, remember seeing I saw Marshmello in a huge, like a semi-huge crowd in Lollapalooza, and
Mm-hmm.
then a month, like 3 weeks later, he was playing in Toronto. He was right before he was playing at Diplo's Mad Decent festival he does, which is
Okay.
like $40, and Diplo is now like hard to find, and obviously Marshmello is huge now,
Yeah.
and and then so I saw him in front of like probably like 5,000 people, and then 2 years later he's headlining one of the days at the other thing called Veld, which is like an EDM festival, which has turned into like EDM and rappers,
Mm-hmm.
and then he played in front of like 50,000 people. So it's like,
Oh.
and it's like, so I saw him at Lollapalooza when he was just because we thought his name sounded cool.
Mm.
To I saw him, I guess not open, but like co-headline, or he played right before Diplo, and then he main events EDM festival,
That is really crazy. That's
and then
that's. I think
all
he's
the
got to be one
even
of the
biggest EDM artists. Yeah,
like he's one of the like the biggest names now, especially like with the Fortnite stuff and all the kids getting to know him and stuff like
he
that.
has 30 million followers on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Well, I
I
wonder. I'd like
guarantee
to
you, I
wonder what
was
he had.
following him when he had maybe less than 100,000.
I remember that when that video came out of Lollapalooza and everybody was jumping up and down in unison. That was like the biggest thing on like the internet for a couple minutes. Like just showing like everyone going crazy for this guy with a bucket on his head.
Um, and like if I tell people how many people I've seen at music festivals, like I've gone to Montreal for 3 days
Hmm.
and a thing called Oshiega, and I've seen like the weekend and stuff, just like so random. It's like, oh yeah, I've seen them at a festival. I've seen them at a festival. Like when I tell people I saw Lana Del Rey at a festival, it's like, what? Like, how do you see her? How do you see
Yeah.
him?
That I
There's
mean,
music festivals. You get to see random people.
yeah, dude, that's the best thing. I
Like,
mean,
it's like,
like
why did I see Sam Smith? I'm like, well, because he was
because
there
you
and I was
could.
there.
Yeah, because you were able to. I mean, that's why. Um, what was I gonna say? Like, there's like not a lot of chances to see a lot of these people, and you get your money's worth for all these like festivals. Because when I'm looking back at that Lollapalooza card, I guess whatever lineup, again I see like Halsey and Mac Miller and like these different bands that like or these different bands these different artists that I didn't know of at the time, but then like fast forward it's like, oh man, I wish I would have seen them, wish I would have seen them. It's crazy. But I can go on for an hour talking about music and concerts and stuff like that, so we'll make part two another day.
I was gonna say, what was your favorite music festival? I'm definitely gonna say definitely probably Lollapalooza.
My favorite music festival is Warped Tour, hands
Really?
down. Oh, definitely, dude. Only because, like, I feel like if we went to Lollapalooza this year, next year, whatever, like, I feel like I'll appreciate it a lot more. But in the moment for Lollapalooza in 2016, it was mostly I want to see the people that I know, and I want to like, like these people that I kind of, like you told me about, like, okay, it would be fun, but I didn't like really appreciate it as much as I would now. That's why Warped
Okay.
Tour is
So
like,
you're too new to understand. Now you're like, oh my god, if I went back, I'd be like more involved.
mhm. And like, dude, like the thing with like Warped Tour is like you walk around and, you know, everybody's got camo cargo shorts and a black t-shirt on, and that guy's got a wrestling shirt, and that guy's too sweet me from a mile away. Like, you know what I mean? Those are my people. Lollapalooza's like, it's turned into. It's I can't say it's turned into Coachella because it hasn't. It hasn't even come close to what that is like. But it's like, it's like the first step. It's getting there. You know what I mean? But
I
yeah.
guess. Like, I don't know.
It's like
Lollapalooza
because
definitely
it's so much. You
one
know
of
what I
those
mean?
4 days. But I
Because
guess
it's so
now when
much.
they try to do 4 days, it's like it's not as packed as when they did it the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Dude, I remember, okay, last thing. Who was it when I think it was 2017? 2017 Lollapalooza. I'm gonna look this up real quick. Lollapalooza 2017. It was when Chance headlined. Yeah, it was 2017. So 2017, I remember during Chance the Rapper, during his set, at the same time on the other stage was a band called the XX. And so I remember seeing people going crazy about the fact that the XX had barely anybody at their set, and Chance had like overflow, like a dangerous amount of people were seeing Chance the Rapper. And I remember saying at the time, I was like, if I was there, I would go see the XX because I already saw the one song that I care about from Chance the Rapper in Chicago at Lollapalooza a year before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, Blink 182 was on this one, dude. If Blink 182 plays at Lollapalooza next year, I think I'm gonna have to retire. Like, that would be
I
awesome.
think I have to retire for Lollapalooza, but I have to know going in that I'm not going. It's not going to be the same magic as 2016.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, unless the lineup is good, and then
The VIP,
we'll
but
see. We'll see what happens. You never know. It's a year from now, if they have it a year from now. Um, all I'm saying is a lot can happen in a year. So you never know. But that's it.
Mike's getting media passes and brings me along.
I'll just be like, all right, well, we have a podcast. It's called Quarantine Chronicles. Like, please let us know.
Or
We
I'll
talk about,
get some other media
and that's it.
and
We'll talk to you again in the next one.
uh,
Goodbye.
you're